Hello and welcome to Talk Point on Dot TV. I am Victoria Monday. On today's episode on Talk Point, we will be discussing culture as a means of driving revenue to any society, and basically we'll be discussing culture and its drive to Delta States. And today I'm in studio with an icon in culture and tourism, a lady who was actually stand fit when it comes to culture and tourism.
Joining us is the Executive Assistant to the Delta State Governor on Culture and Tourism, an esteemed academic, Justice of the Peace and Fellow of Institute of Investment Assurance and Studies. She is a university lecturer, a cultural and carnival consultant, a theatre critic, a director, a choreographer, and an authority in performance and carnival studies. Energetic and enterprising woman, a fierce optimist, a lover of justice, who has a plethora of humanist endeavors to her credit, a mother of two beautiful children. She is Dr. Mrs. Josephine Emu.
Thank you. Thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah.
It's no longer news that culture and tourism is a way of having to drive in revenue to the states. We want to know, what are the importance of having to celebrate culture and investing in our festivals here in Delta States?
Culture, like we know, is the way of life of every man, every culture, every society, every clime, everything they do, their food, their cuisines, the way they do their things. So it is subsumed under what becomes culture.
So I would like to know, why is festival important in any society?
What is festival? Festival is also a part of culture. And festival is as old as man. Festival is more of our experiences than the things we read from books. It is more experienced by the people who own them or their visitors. So we can say festival is history in motion. And it is a way of life of the people, their experiences. Let us take it down to the early times. We can say festival and culture is as old as man. Now, most of them are handed down to us by our parents, the ancestors, those that are older than us. So we learn, you see what they do. Then the other aspect of it is its experience, or I would say, it can experienced by the early men, by the hunters, the fishermen of the early time, where they go for their hunting expedition, fishing expedition, and they encounter some of these animals, even in the process of hiding for their games to hunt, they are able to experience and see how these animals move and see most of the things that happen around them in the forest, even their own, the way they also move to make sure they are not caught by this animal or they miss their game. Those experiences, those activities, they come back home to rehash it, before their families, their children. At some point, this festival started more like a moonlight game. I mean, this aspect of festival started more like a moonlight game where they sit down to tell their stories, how they have to act to make sure they get their games. From there, they now felt, yes, there is a greater being. It's a being that makes all these things possible. There is a supreme being that makes it possible for them to wake up, go for hunting, be successful. How then do they appease these gods, this supreme being? Then that's how ritual come in. From ritual, it snowballs into festival. So you can see that's another aspect of festival that man created through their experiences. Then the other one, it's more of handed down, where living in a clime, you may not really be from that community, but because you have lived amongst them, you have experienced, you have seen what they do, you now understand what their activities, what they do in their festival. So it's more of reliving, telling their stories through these experiences, through these activities that makes them who they are. That is festival.
Okay, Ma, please, would like to know, how do festival contribute to an economic growth, hereby through the tourists, the local business, job creation, and so on?
Festival is subsumed under culture. Culture works hand in hand with tourism. Now, you can't be talking about arts, culture without tourism. So tourism, it's also a part of culture because that is the only way you exhibit, to show the world, you showcase who you are through image laundering and diplomacy, telling people this is who we are, this is what we do. So festivals, culture, and tourism, I don't think any of them can actually thrive independently. Because what is tourism? Tourism is going to those community sites, those places, like we have the Umaja River. It has a story around it. We are here in Asaba. You have a lot of those historical sites. You have the Lander Brothers. It has a story. You have the Mongo Park House. It has a story. Those are tourist sites. But these tourist sites cannot walk outside the culture of the people. And it also works around the festivals, where these festivals, if properly enacted, can attract investors, can attract researchers, and can also attract grants, by foreigners who will come into for cultural exchange and interface with these people. Our culture, Delta State in its many aspects, if I'm going to put it that way, or now Nigeria in the greater circle of it, we have a lot to showcase to the outside world when it comes to the area of culture and festival. Our culture is very rich. Delta State is a mini Nigeria where you have, of course, the senatorial districts, or I can say the multi-ethnic nationalities, where you have the Robos, the Shakiris, the Jos. One thing is common. Our culture is beautiful. You need to say our culture, our dances, our everything around our culture. Even our food, food is part of festival where you showcase what you have. So many of these things we have can be sold to generate revenue for the state. Our oil is practically going into extinction. So culture, tourism is now the new oil, like I would say we all know, because oil is as good as gone. And another viable alternative becomes tourism, where visitors come in, they stay around. It does not only create job, but let me throw a light in the area of creating job. Tourism creates a lot of job because at that point, you have the costumes, people are making those costumes. You have food, people are cooking those foods. You have vendors, you have even content creators. They are there to sell what is happening around. Then you also have hotels. People that are coming in, that's not their place. They are going to lodge, they're going to stay in places. And you can see how engaging tourism can be. There is no sector, there is no aspect of life that tourism does not affect. Government sort of brings a lot of infrastructural development, because if a state, Asaba or Delta State, is expecting, we are expecting investors, we truly have to put our things in order. Yeah. Infrastructure, buildings, roads. So you can see that every aspect of governance, every aspect of development is affected. So our culture, our tourism is sellable, and it can add to our internally generated revenue hugely. So it's an aspect that I think we haven't really leveraged, we haven't really explored the way we should to actually make a statement.
It's all right. We'll come back while we go for break. When we're back from this break, we're going to elaborate more on the Shakiris, the Joel, and how much it has actually connects this community here by bringing peace and unity to the state. Stay with us while we come back for break.
Once upon a time, there was a community called Oboro, hidden there within a river that seemed without end. Oboro stood as a complete village like many others, built on families bound by love, unity, and resilience. Here, life was simple. Memories were made by water. Stories were passed from generation to generation. Then came the infamous Warri crisis, a dark chapter that destroyed all the borough and many communities along the Benin River, reducing homes, memories, and histories to ashes. Yet, even in destruction, the stories of Oboro refuse to be washed away. Through the vision of one man with a heart of gold, the past was restored, love rekindled, and a legacy reborn. It was given a name, Oboro Festival. Today, Oboro Festival stands as a celebration of culture, pride, identity, a gathering that brings people home from near and far, not just for entertainment, but for the remembrance. Because here, culture is not just a performance, it is who we are. Different roots, one rhythm, one...
Welcome back and thank you for still staying with us. So Ma, just like you're discussing about the revenue that culture can actually bring to a society or a growing society, you actually mentioned about the Shekiris, the Ijo, the rebels, how they can actually come together through celebrating peace and unity. We want to elaborate more on all of this. How do you think Delta states in particular could actually bring in their values, their culture, rather than the normal oil we know, to bring in peace to the society?
Amongst the roles of culture, or the greatest of its role, it's enabling peace amongst the communities. Culture, we go for National Festival for Arts and Culture. There you see cultures, different cultures. We have a unifying theme. My culture speaks peace. I may not really understand what this other person says in language, but I appreciate what the culture is saying through the dance, through the activities, through what they do. So one must not necessarily understand your culture, your language, to know that this is a beautiful culture. We have even the current issue in Warri axis, the Joe Urobo Shekiri crisis. It is only through culture that you can resolve all this, because they understand that you don't lie to culture. You don't lie, to history. There are things you can't say. Culture has its way of restitution. So when they come together, they know that they only have to speak the truth. So our culture, through our dances, our culture, through a lot of the things we do, can unify us. So our culture is always speaking of peaceful coexistence rather than conflict resolution. Culture will not allow any conflict, because there will always be conflict before you talk about resolving it, conflict resolution. But here, we're talking about peaceful coexistence. So when we have communities that live, just close to each other, and they have cultures that transcends. Through culture, we marry each other. You see Urobo marrying Ijo, you see Ijo marrying Shekiri, you see Shekiri marrying Igbo. I'm talking about even Isoko, because we're not living out Isoko. These are the tribes in Delta State that intermarry, and this is culturally based. So if I am marrying from your place, what it means is if anyone from your place offends me, there is every tendency that I'm going to address it through a peaceful way. Because people can take your wife, your sister, who is your wife, my wife, from me. And I wouldn't want that, especially where there are children from that marriage. So culture helps a lot to maintain peace in our communities. That is the only way that sanity can come back. Because you bring the traditional rulers, you bring the chiefs. How can this be resolved? They have a way of resolving these things traditionally. Culture, we can even come together to fight an intruder. It is only through culture that this can be achieved. Just like during the colonial era, it was through culture that there was some level of resistance, even in the reenactment of these festivals, because the white, they came and they wanted to throw away our culture. They wanted to send it into extinction. But the reenactment of these festivals will remind the generations yet unborn that we have something that we have to look up to. We have something that we should work towards upholding, because this is who we are. So that is why trying to send history as a cause into extinction or stop it take it away from school curriculum cannot work, because that is the only way that our children will understand that this is where all my parents, our forefathers, great grandfathers, what my culture says, so they don't go against it. Culture remains everything about man, who you are, what you do, who you relate with, what you eat, and everything you do.
Okay, please, Ma, we also want to know what is the historical significance of tradition festivals and why is it important to preserve them for the next and our future generation?
Historical significance, unity. It speaks peace. There is no culture that sues that, of course, will rather settle for war rather than peace. Of course. It's peace. It helps us to uphold what we have. It helps us to document our history. These are histories that are handed down, not just written down. Anything that is written down, there can be some level of errors. But when it is a story, this person is telling you this, this person is telling you, and you are experiencing it. People cannot tell you something other than different from what you have experienced. So there's some level of documentation. There's some level of upholding the tenets of traditional life and what we do. There's some level of sanity in the society. Even the children, when they want to derail, you tell them that this is a repercussion for this thing that you want to do. So it helps to put everyone, and the significance is also the revenue. It generates revenue into the system. It stabilizes the economy. Culture, festivals stabilizes the economy, because there are a lot of things, they have a lot of, let's use a Calabar carnival. It is called the African a street party. So what it means is already in the global map. So everybody understands that there is the number one or the foremost African street party in Nigeria. So everybody looks forward to going to Nigeria that period. That's already diplomacy, image laundering, And with that, you can tell the people that this is what we do. So people that think coming to Nigeria, you just come to, Nigerians, they like war, they do this, they do that. There's a lot of restiveness here. You can use your culture to tell them that, no, we are peaceful here. This is what we do. And it's safe for investors, safe for visitors, safe for anything. So,
okay, before we throw
there are a lot of significances.
Before we throw the last question, we want to know, how will the government, the institutes, how will our tradition help in harnessing and promoting our culture and then our development? What would the government do separately in preserving this culture?
By helping to fund. They should support some of these festivals are going into extinction because they need fund to uphold the celebrations. They need fund to uphold the celebration. So the government need to partner with the traditional rulers, even where there are some level of restiveness. The government cannot do it alone. You need the traditional heads. And that is why here in Delta State, our governor always engages the traditional rulers who are more like, they have a one-on-one, they run an open door, just grassroots at that level, they interface, and they know their people by names. Even in the dark, when they are moving and they hear their voices, they know who is moving around. So the government truly need to work with the traditional rulers, the custodians of our culture, to bring peace and stabilize the economy. So we truly need to work with every aspect of culture, to bring peace to our world.
As a portfolio, the executive or the senior assistant to the governor when it comes to culture and tourism, what will be your advice, or what are your vision in harnessing this culture and tourism and also promoting it? So Delta will not just be on the surface, but it will be on the limelight of celebrating not just the Shekiris, not just the Ijo, but every part of the 25 local government of Delta State.
Yeah, it's very direct. We really need to walk the talk. It's not every time there are symposiums going on, every time there are meetings, every time there are conferences on culture and tourism. But at the end of it, communiques are not implemented. There are a lot of things that must be done. Cultural officers should be trained and retrained. Let them understand that there are things they must do to promote. It shouldn't be just administrative. It should transcend administrative aspect of it, go practical, where every area is engaged, everyone, even to secondary school level. They should even take it down to primary school, where they start learning what their culture, what is the norm, what is an abomination, what should be done, what shouldn't be done. So as stakeholders, all we need is to help the government to make sure that the right things are done, to make sure that what we do here in Delta State is the right thing, and we can rival any other state when it comes to the area of culture. So that is basically what it is, by living up to expectation and doing the right thing.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. It has been a very wonderful time having you here.
Thank
We
you.
hope to see you some other time. And for our viewers out there, thank you for staying tuned and watching Dots TV. Till we meet again. Don't forget, it's our viewers and you come first on Talk Points.